So here's a good example of a word problem. We got a trailer company has found that the revenue from sales of heavy duty truck trailers is a function of the price P it charges. If the revenue is given by blah, what's the maximum revenue? So there's a few things I want you to look at in this problem. The first thing that I would probably do when looking at this problem is in the understand step of any word problem is try to figure out roughly what's going on. And in particular with a multiple choice test like this one is to say roughly what should my answer be. So keep it in mind what revenue means. So revenue means all the money your company takes in. So this is before it pays out costs. We're not talking about profit here. We're talking about all the money it takes in. So if the most money that your company can take in is $2,700 for heavy duty truck trailers, your company sucks. So we can probably cross off A and B to begin with and say we're looking at one of these answers in the millions as our likely answer. So that's a good place to start. Also in this understand step then is to reread the problem a couple times and try to figure out what underlying formulas might be going on. What type of problem is this? And in this particular problem, the key word that we're looking for is maximum. Maximum gives us a lot of good information here. Maximum is telling us that since this function over here is an upside down parabola, it's a quadratic, it's got a p squared in it, and the coefficient's negative, then what this problem is asking for is it's asking for the vertex. But a vertex is an ordered pair. It's two different numbers. So the other big part, before we've done any real math at all in trying to understand this problem, is then to say, am I looking for the x value or am I looking for the y value of the vertex? Now the fact that we're asked about the revenue as we look back over here is the y value. So what this problem is really asking us for is the y value of the vertex. That's what we're really looking for in this problem. And we just spent over 2 minutes on this problem to identify that, and that is not time wasted. When it comes to a word problem, take the time to read through it, figure out what it is you're trying to solve for, and actually write it down too. Because what's going to happen in a problem like this is you're going to start the problem and say, hey, I got a formula for the x value of the vertex, and you're going to jot that down and do it. And if you get kind of lost in that work and you finally get to an answer, and that answer is one of the multiple choice options, you might be excited and happy and mark it. But the x value of the vertex is not the answer to this problem, and then you're going to get it wrong. So we're going to write down, hey, I'm looking for the y value of the vertex. So remember the formula for the x value of the vertex is that it's the opposite of b over 2a. So in terms of this problem, my b is 2,700, so that's going to give me negative 2,700 over 2 times negative 3/4. Now we could put this in the calculator as is and get an answer, but we got fractions within fractions and all sorts of stuff going on that honestly you're probably better off simplifying this by hand a little bit. To realize that a negative over a negative is a positive, and to say 2,700 over, let's look what's going on in the bottom. 2 times 3/4, that's just 3/2. Now, without a calculator, and I'll show you some calculator work in just 1 second here. Without a calculator, what I would probably do to this, to do it by hand, it's actually going to make the problem fairly simple, is to realize that that 3/2 on the bottom means divide by 3/2. And to divide by 3/2 is the same thing as multiplying by 2/3. And the beauty of that then is that 27 divided by 3 is 9. So this is 900 times 2, or 1,800. And again, this is where we got to be careful because 1,800 is the x value of the vertex. Now, I did want to talk about the calculator briefly. So going back up to where we had 2,700 divided by 2 times 3/4 here. If you're using the TI-30XS multi-view, then this isn't bad. Otherwise, you got some parentheses to worry about. So in this case, we would just say 2,700 over 2 times, then we'll hit the fraction button again and do our 3/4. But if you're not using this calculator, I would suggest doing as much by hand as possible, because otherwise there's a good chance you're going to make some parenthesis errors. Now, from here on out, it should be pretty easy, because the y value of the vertex is just to plug this 1,800 back in, at which point there's not really too much of an issue when it comes to parentheses. It's just going to be a straight up calculation that we're going to put those values in. So let me go ahead and actually just move my window over this way so that we can do this, and we get negative 3/4 times 1,800 squared plus 2,700 times 1,800. And so it looks like the number with the 243 in it, the C, is the correct answer there. This answer should make sense as well. Again, when we're talking about revenue for heavy-duty truck trailers, something in the millions should make sense.